Don't forget to check out and grab your copy of our 2 newly released books, Football: A Love Story and What Did Football Teach Me? These books feature over 100 stories from current and former coaches, players, executives, and entertainers from across the football landscape, describing what got them involved in the game, what they love about it, and what life lessons the game taught them. You can find your copy or order your copy from our website at footballgameplan.com/books. Before we get to the report, if you like our style of video and analysis, feel free to show support for Football Game Plan by dropping by our YouTube channel at youtube.com/footballgameplan and leaving a little something in the tip jar. Every little bit helps us as we continue to improve the quality of our videos and the coverage we enjoy bringing you guys each and every time we put out a project. Thank you again for your support. Kicking off our list of top utility receivers in this year's NFL draft class, I look at Jalen Marshall out of Ohio State, a guy that is very versatile. He can do damage as a runner, as a receiver, and also as a kickoff and punt returner. And he has very good run after the catch skills, but I think he lacks that polish in one specific role. He's almost like the jack of all trades, but the master of none. He was a running back initially, moved to wide receiver, so he has that upside, but you can't ignore the fact that when he does have the football in his hands, he definitely knows what to do with it. Mitch Matthews out of BYU is a guy that I really like. He has that Gumby-like athleticism. This guy can contort his body in many different ways to come up with the catch. I also believe he tracks the football very well and is not afraid to sacrifice for the catch, and he plays bigger than what he's listed. He's listed as 6'5". He plays like he's a 6'8" wide receiver. Now, he lacks the strength and will struggle to separate as a pro. I don't think he's overly sudden as well, but I had to go back, way back, for a comparison to Mitch Matthews' game. He reminds me a lot of Chris Collinsworth. Malcolm Mitchell out of Georgia is a guy that plays a lot like Charles Johnson of the Minnesota Vikings. I like the fact that his football IQ is where it needs to be. He understands zone defenses and how to settle down in those zones. I also like the fact that he has good bursts after the catch and he plays special teams, but I don't think he's dynamic in one particular area. I also believe he has okay hands. A lot of his catches are coming into his body. He doesn't overly extend out and reach up to snatch or pluck the ball out of the air. And he also has that injury history coming out of Georgia, but I do think he's a solid number 4 or number 5 option for your football team. J.D. McKissick out of Arkansas State is your quintessential Swiss Army knife, a guy that can excel as a running back, receiver, or kickoff returner. I love the fact that he's able to weave through the trash very well and also is comfortable catching the football away from his body. But I also think he has okay agility. He's not as elusive as you'd like to see, and he tends to get brought down very easily. And I also believe his routes need a lot of polish. But overall, a guy that's able to serve multiple roles is definitely one that has value. I'm a big Andrew Fisher fan out of Harvard. He plays a lot like Philly Brown. He's a tough competitor. He lays out for passes. He has the punt return skills that you want and also does an excellent job of tracking the football, and he also has very good hands. Now, he's more quick than fast. His routes need a little bit more work. I think he also had a lot of these nagging injuries that limited his effectiveness overall as a Crimson. He must add strength because he tends to get rerouted and bumped off routes. But again, a spot guy, a guy that can come in and take the top off of defense. He also does a great job in the intermediate area over the middle of the field. So very good skill set here for Andrew Fisher. Reese Horn out of Indianapolis is a guy that was a tremendous player for the Greyhounds throughout the course of his career, led the team in receiving, was an All-American as well. And when you look at what he does well, he's very strong within his route, also during the catch. He can make the contested catch. He can make sure he's open all the time because his routes are excellent. Where he has to get better, things that he has to work on, I look at the speed coming out of those breaks. I think he's not as explosive as you would like. He's also not a guy that's not as sudden as you would like to see. So that's going to limit his role a little bit as he moves forward. But as far as hands and route running is concerned, he's going to find himself open more often than not, and reminds me a lot of R.J. Harris of the New Orleans Saints. Troy Doles out of Brown is another excellent route runner that's able to accelerate into his routes before he breaks in or out, which allows him to not only stack the defender, but stay open throughout the course of a ball game. He also has the return skills as a kickoff returner that you want, but he has to work on being able to beat press on a consistent basis and work through contact. I think that tends to be an issue when he's running across the middle of the field and also at the catch point. If he can become a little bit stronger in those two areas, I think he has a chance to continue to grow his game as a pro. I thought Ed Egan out of Northwestern State had a solid week of practice at the Senior Bowl. When you go back and check his film at Northwestern State, you saw a guy that was constantly open because of the fact that he has tremendous hands. He's able to make that one-hand catch with ease. I think everywhere else you can look to see some areas of improvement, especially on the perimeter. I think he's probably better suited to play inside or the slot, but I do like the fact that he's able to compete, he can catch, and route running will something that he will have to consistently work on to get better at as he moves forward. Chad Ward out of Bryant was a guy that I saw live in 2014 versus Sacred Heart. I earmarked him as a junior to keep an eye on this upcoming season, and he just built on what he did last year as a senior. He has great hands. I think he tracks the football extremely well, and he plays even bigger than his already listed 6'3" size. Now, he's not overly explosive, Sutton, or dynamic in one particular area. He doesn't really explode out of his breaks, and he tends to round his routes off. I do think those are areas where he's going to have to improve if he wants to stay on the field on a consistent basis, but he has the raw skills. Like I said before, he has the hands and has the ability to track the football, and those are two things that you can't coach. KJ May out of Minnesota is a very tough and strong receiver. Despite being 5'8", 194, he plays like a 6'3", 230-pound wide receiver. I love that physicality within his game. He has very good hands, and I think situationally as a running back, you can see him run inside and have success. I don't think he has great change of direction skills. I think he's okay in that area. He also has okay power. He tends to go down a little bit too easy for my taking, and he lacks that elite level burst that you want to see a guy that has a shorter or smaller low center of gravity. You want to see a guy really explode out of those breaks, and I don't think May is that type of a player. I think he can play outside, he can play inside, but I do see him as a fourth or fifth option as a pro. Derek Darko out of Salve Regina, I think, has some upside. I think he still can grow his game. Part of a dynamic duo out there at Salve Regina. This is a guy that has very good burst and explosiveness after the catch. I think he does a great job in climbing and stacking defensive backs on vertical routes while also displaying the ability to make those contested catches. And because he's 5'11", 185, he's a stocky guy, and I think that allows him to break tackles without losing speed. I think he also has potential as a kickoff and punt returner. Alex Holm at 5'9", 180 is another outstanding, well-built receiver for the Seahawks. Despite being 5'9", he had no issues on film playing above the rim on multiple occasions, and when he needed a big play, they went to Holm. And I think he doubles down as the kickoff and punt returner, which just adds tremendous value to what you're getting when you bring in Holm to your football team. And he has above average quickness and burst, and I think this is a guy that you can play inside or out. Lovie Banks out of Elizabeth City State jumped on my radar at the Baltimore Regional Combine. I thought he had a phenomenal workout. I went back and checked the tape, and here's a guy that tracks the football extremely well. He has great run after the catch skills and is a guy that's also solid in the return game and has good catching skills. I think he's a solid catcher. You can say he's above average in that area, but his routes definitely need polish. I think that he is extremely raw in that area. This is a guy that tends to round off his routes, doesn't really explode in or out of his breaks. He tends to just drift and wait before tracking the football. So route running is something he's going to have to improve as he makes a jump to the NFL. And rounding out our top utility receivers in this year's draft class, I look at Ryan Umpleby from Lycoming College, an outstanding Division III program, and he was another player at the Baltimore Regional Combine that forced me to go back to the tape. And what I saw on film was a guy that routinely plucked the football out of the air. Now, they played him all over the formation. He played in the slot, he played on the outside as a split, and also as a flanker. I think you can continue to move him around your formation. He's not as explosive as you would like coming in and out of his breaks, but once he gets the football in his hands, he becomes a different player. I do think he must add strength. I tend to see him get big boyed a lot within his route and during the catch point. So if he can continue to get stronger, then you're going to see his game continue to elevate.